Ready when you are.
Oh, okay. I'd like to call this meeting of the Lakota Board of Education to order today, March 17th. Adam, will you please call the roll?
Mr. D. Here. Ms. Casper.
Here.
Ms. French.
Here.
Mr. Horton.
Here.
Ms. Schaefer.
Here. Do I have a motion for approval of agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Adam, please call the roll.
Ms. Casper.
Yes.
Mr. D. Yes. Ms. French.
Yes.
Mr. Horton.
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer.
Yes. All right, now please join us as we'll ask the kids to help lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So they can start us off. Does somebody want to start us off down there? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, sorry to spring that on you there.
We're all like that. What do we do? We're all looking at each other.
Board President's comments. I just would like to thank everyone who came out Wednesday. We had a full crowd and we had a healthy debate on the state school voucher, so appreciate everybody's attendance and attention to that challenge. Now I'd go to superintendent's comments.
Just a reminder that we have a master facilities plan meeting on Wednesday. That is a change from our normal schedule. Normally those are on Tuesday, but this will be the quorum meeting where we all attend if possible. So again, that's Wednesday from 9 to 11. And then next week, so the week of March 25th, we're going to be on our normal cadence of Tuesday. We're going to be alternating between the quorum, whole group meeting, and then the subcommittee. The quorum and the subcommittee. So the quorum is when we're all invited to be active participants. Subcommittee, Julie and Kelly will be the standing voices on that, but certainly welcome to be in the audience and participate. So again, this week is a quorum on Wednesday, and then next week on Tuesday from 9 to 11, we will start the subcommittee and just alternate. Also, I think I would be remiss if I just didn't talk about we've had a busy week here in Lakota, for sure, right? Not only last week's board meeting, but last week we had Light Up Lakota. And it was my very first Light Up Lakota in this role. And I cannot tell you just what a blast I had. I got to play a bit banana piano from our independent students. I got to meet with a second grader at Wyandotte, Lucy, who just blew me away with her writing skills and her ability to have a conversation about her idea development and revision. That is from a second grader. So just a wonderful opportunity to spotlight all of the wonderful things that are happening in our district. I got to learn about Central and the planets and macarons. So just a wonderful time to engage with our students and hear about their learning and see it firsthand. Then this weekend, we had the very eventful Shamrock Shuffle. We also had the partnership with the Fenton Center and Liberty Center, where we have over 300 student artworks being displayed. Those will be there through April 10th. Just a wonderful way to showcase the creativity of our student artists. We had a little bit of some athletics this weekend as well, with boys basketball from West. In the semifinals, didn't get the result that we wanted, but certainly our kids played their hearts out and left everything on the court. So very something to be proud of. Just a wonderful time to be in Lakota and celebrate our students with all of their wonderful and varied activities.
Great. All right, and now we'll move to Mr. Zink's comments.
So Ms. Schaefer and Ms. Casper and I met with Representative Hall on Friday, and I believe it was Mr. Benjamin who was with Mr. Huffman. He might be the analyst, I believe it was.
He's
with
the
Mr. Policy analyst.
Poly analyst for the
with
Republican
Mr.
caucus.
So we shared some ideas and some different things with them, and I have heard that maybe several amendments got submitted. Hopefully some of those may be in favor of House Bill 96, our new biennial budget, hopefully coming out a little better than the initial simulations. So stay tuned on that. Echo what Dr. Whiteley said, going to the basketball game Sunday. Definitely didn't have the outcome we were looking for, but that was the best game that I've probably ever seen in person. It was such an exciting game to watch. So congratulations to Lakota West for getting as far as they did. And that's all I have.
All right. Now we will move on to the best part of every meeting, our student spotlight. So, Mrs. Fuller, if you would like to bring your team up, that would be fabulous.
Good evening. Tonight, we're shining the light on collaboration and leadership in our schools. Could you guys flip to the next slide, please?
Collaboration between the team here.
Thank you. So Lakota East art teacher Danielle Garner wanted to give her Photo 1 students a creative avenue to apply what they learned in class, not only basic photography concepts, but also their study of commercial photography. Enter Liberty ECS kindergarten teacher Erin Miller and her students, who are the perfect target audience for their creations. Along with Ms. Gardner and Ms. Miller, students Lucas Bertkey and Max Garner are here to share more about how the high school students' I Spy book projects are benefiting some of our youngest learners. Could you guys flip the slides one more time? Thank you.
Why was this so special to you? Who made this?
My mom.
Yeah, so Max's mommy, Mrs. Gardner, made the books for our class, right? And why do you like them? Which one do you like the best?
Baseball one,
And why?
because I like the Reds.
Yeah, do you want to hold it up and show them? Let's open it so they can see. Yeah. All right. Down. All right, then Lucas.
My favorite thing is the I Spy book because my favorite thing is the toy book because my favorite one is the Lego book.
Yeah, do you want to show them it? Here, turn it so they can see. Oh, it's upside down.
Very nice.
Do you want to
Talk. Okay, I think Betsy talked a lot about this project, but I thought about this project a lot a few months before I contacted Erin. So I knew that I wanted to do some kind of flat lay photography. So it's an extension of a flat lay project I did with my Photo 1 students. So they started with a personal flat lay. And then I told them that I wanted to take it a step further and that we were going to make I Spy books for kindergartners. So everybody was immediately all in. They were excited to make something for the kindergarten class. So I'm very thankful that Erin was willing to work with me. So my students are all, they're Photo 1. This project was a variety of things, so planning, thinking about the themes. So I reached out to Erin prior and asked her some of the themes that she was working with in her new curriculum. So we planned this together where my students would essentially design their books based off the modules in her ELA. It was ELA and math, right? So both ELA and math. So the students got into groups. They worked together to brainstorm props, brainstorm themes, take pictures, basically lay things out in a flat lay, which is an aerial view photo. And then the hardest part of this project was actually creating the poem, which the high schoolers struggled with, but it was really fun. They were into it. So there was the 3 parts to the project between the cover of the book, the picture itself, and the poem. So I felt like we were able to encompass so much in art, photography, and as well as the curriculum in the kindergarten class. So, and then I had my students go over and work with the kids, and they were so excited. I'm pretty sure they were excited too. So it was just kind of cool to bring those together, and especially since that's my son, and he's in Aaron's class. So it was just kind of nice to see my students work with, like my seniors work with the littlest learners, but also be part of it because it's my son as well. So it was a really fun project. So I might continue it again, maybe with a different school.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions for this team?
I think just appreciation. We thank you so much for that, thinking outside the box to do that and engage the kids, because everything is about fun and they learn. they learn how to collaborate at this age.
Right.
It means a lot for them in their future.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you so much.
Yes, no problem.
It's a great idea. Thank you for reaching out and doing that. Also, I can't believe that he's in kindergarten. That happened.
Yeah, right.
So what a fun project for everyone involved. I love when our older learners are able to assist our younger learners. I think it's so beneficial to everyone in the team, so thank you for doing that.
I love seeing the extension of what you're doing with our arts program. The arts programs in Lakota are so very strong, and then to take that to the next level and have collaboration between the high schoolers and the elementary school is just really, really nice to see. So I appreciate it.
Gentlemen, excellent job presenting today. I'm sure that made you a little bit nervous to talk in the microphone with all the people out in the audience, but you did a fantastic job.
I think we should give them some applause a little bit.
Well, and we would also love to take a photo with you out front, if we may.
Okay, Creekside, do you want to join me up on stage, please? So Character Team is a long-standing tradition for Creekside second graders who strive to live out character traits like respect, responsibility, integrity, and leadership on a daily basis. They are role models to their peers and lead special projects that enhance their community around them. To hear more about this program, please welcome Principal Todd Hartman and students Brendan Ball, Paige Betcher, Blessing Shinholster, Bridget Skelton, and Leah Thomas.
Thank you, Mrs. Fuller. Dr. Whiteley, Mr. Zink, President Schaefer, members of the board, I'm so excited to be here with you this evening alongside Jen Russell. Mrs. Russell is our outstanding school counselor at Creekside, and she's also the facilitator of our character team. And of course, we have 5 awesome students who are going to share with you, and they are members of our character team. We're so proud of all of our Cubs at Creekside, including our kids on character team. Now, please don't let the grade levels, kindergarten through 2nd grade of our school, fool you. Our students might be young, but they are making a positive impact on the world right now. They're not just future leaders, they're current leaders. And tonight they'll share with you about Character Team, some of their current work and projects. It's my pleasure to welcome the first student who will speak and to hand the mic off to Brendan.
Character Team is a position open to any 2nd grade student. If you are interested, you fill out an application to apply. We are notified in September of the Character Team. Each classroom has 2 people to represent their class. Our first job as Character Team is to talk about the leadership traits we all have to offer. Each member's strength creates a strong character team.
Character Team cares about helping our community. We love to partner with our neighborhood to help make our world a better place. Some projects we have done over the years includes Crimson Cups Coffee Sleeves. We design messages of kindness to brighten a person's day. Reach Out Lakota Food Drive. We helped organize and collect food for our district's food drive. Cereal for Smiles. We collected over 700 cereal boxes for local food pantries to pass out to families.
The Cereal Box Challenge was a way to bring our Creekside community together and help food pantries in our area. We collected over 700 boxes of cereal. We called our drive Cereal for Smiles because everyone smiles when you eat a bowl of cereal. As a building, we created a huge domino course. This project made everyone smile. When we get new students, we love to make them feel welcomed. A character team member greets them in their classroom and gives them a tour of Creekside. We want them to feel excited to start at Creekside and feel less nervous by knowing where places are. Creekside students care. 3 times a month, the character team goes to Miss Dotson's SEC classroom. This classroom has students with autism in it. We work with them on their social skills by playing and taking turns. We all look forward to seeing our SEC buddies. The best part about SEC buddies is reading with them and getting hugs. Here at Creekside, we take care of others, we take care of ourselves, and we take care of this way. Creekside Cubs care. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Wow.
All right. Christina, would you like to start this time?
Sure, I will definitely start. Thank you so much for being on the character team at Creekside. That's a very important job because it's a job that affects everyone in your school, right? Would one of you like to tell me why you wanted to join the character team? How about if I ask you a different question? What is your favorite part about being on the character team?
Probably seeing our SEC buddies twice a month.
That's great.
And also doing the woo wagon. Doing things to help our community.
That's really great. Well, I am very proud of you all for being such important leaders in your school and in our community. Thank you for coming tonight.
I've just got to say hats off to you. The ability to care for your fellow students as well as your community is really, really amazing. I saw the video of the cereal boxes, and I cannot imagine how much fun that was to do. I enjoyed it so much watching it. I agree, cereal makes me happy. In fact, I'll probably have a big old bowl after the meeting tonight, after this inspiration. And I may just reach out to Mr. Hartman to see if I can fill out an application to join you guys next year, because this sounds like an amazing program.
Ms. Rodi?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Hartman that you guys are already leaders right now. You're not leaders of tomorrow, but you're already leaders today. I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much for your presentation. Continue to be leaders. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Mrs. Gasper?
Thank you so much for coming. I love everything that you guys are doing, and I loved the cereal video too. Like Mr. Horton said, it was so much fun to watch all of the cereal boxes fall down. All of the good things that you are doing in the community and for your district and for your classroom is so impressive, but I must say what's equally impressive was your presentation. You all read very well. You made eye contact with us. So great job on that.
Mr. Zink or Dr. Whaley?
So I just want to repeat what Ms. Casper said. Your speech and speaking into the microphone, super impressive. I can tell you, I got to see their notes and their annotations, and they even made little highlights on their sheets so that they would look up and make great eye contact. And my husband is a Crimson Cup coffee drinker, and he came home with one of the sleeves that you all had decorated. And I can tell you, it made his day, and it was on our fridge for a while. So good job. And the cereal box, super fun. So I'm going to ask a question. Will one of you tell me what your favorite cereal is? What's your favorite cereal?
My favorite cereal is Cocoa Puffs.
Oh, okay. Because you're right. I like Mr. Horton. It makes you smile, right?
My favorite cereal is Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, good.
Nice.
My favorite cereal is Rice Krispie Treat cereal.
So keep up the good work. I can definitely tell that you are making Creekside in the world a positive place. So thank you for sharing about all the wonderful things that you do.
I have to say that my favorite cereal is Cinnamon Toast Crunch also. So that was a good choice. But thanks for coming up and sharing tonight, and thanks for making your school a better place.
So we were lucky that when we got to recognize one of your teachers for her GEM Award, Ms. Haynes, we got to see all the boxes of cereal just piled up there, and we were wondering what was going to happen with those. So I agree, the video was amazing. If anybody has not seen it, go to the Lakota social media page, and it is there. And it was so fun watching them run through and seeing all the branches and all the kids cheering it on. And I love that then all that cereal was able to help our community through several food pantries. So thank you for your generous hearts and being willing to do that, and just every day being Creekside Cubs with such big hearts. So we appreciate that. So if we would like to give you a round of applause, but then after that, if you could join us up front, we would also love to have our picture taken with you if we could. So.
I haven't tripped over those cords yet, honestly.
Yeah, I want some cereal.
Some cinnamon toast.
I'm going to be craving cereal the rest of the meeting.
We all are. I was thinking that. Oh, goodness.
Let's have a meeting that's nothing but that.
Right? Again, it's always so wonderful to see all the amazing things that are happening, and we know that we're only able to highlight a small percentage of the fabulous programs that we have that our students are benefiting from, but thank you for sharing yours today with us. All right, with that, we will go to the Community Engagement Committee.
Oh, Dr. Whiteley, we talked a little bit about the draft for the Master Facility Community Engagement. Do you want to speak a little more to that?
So again, we have with the help of our communications department and Ms. Fuller specifically, we have a draft of a communication plan. Our next step is to meet with Elevar, again, our new architects, and kind of overlay their ideas on top of that. Again, wanting to make sure that we really think through all the varying aspects and stakeholder groups that we need. So it is going to be a very multi-pronged approach. Everything from typical website updates, but focus groups, surveys. We're going to use our very talented Mr. Hirsch for videos. So really just looking at how can we target certain audiences to get them the best information. So again, we will meet with Elevar to overlay on top of that, and then we will bring that to the Master Facilities Committee when it's in a little bit more than a draft mode. But I think we have a lot of neat angles to tack onto, and I spoke to Elevar again this afternoon about our next meeting to kind of finalize that.
And what I liked about it is that they have left room in it to pivot when need be.
Because we've got a little room for expansion or a little room to drill down into if we need to as well.
Right.
The work that Betsy and her team put into that communication plan was really phenomenal.
Yeah.
But from front to back. I mean, the plan, there is not a missing link in it anywhere. So thank you for all of that hard work, Betsy. I can't see you out there, but thank you.
We think she's there.
We also, at DPC this month, we had a safety presentation from some of our school resource officers and Mr. Vogelman, which was great. And in our President's Council, they took a look at a new finance handbook to try to kind of realign or align some of the expectations around finance and dollars and how they're spent and when they're spent and what you have to do when they're spent. So I was happy to see that, and lots of great questions were asked to try to dig a little bit deeper in that aspect. So it was a great month for community engagement.
Yeah,
Lots
we had
of
a lot of
community things
we
going
had a lot of
on.
community engagement this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to get that manual across the finish line.
Yeah.
We've had that one brewing for a while.
Please, please, it could be my swan song, please.
This is a document that is kind of the rules of engagement for our parent and support organizations, since we wanted to make sure that everyone understands why there are certain rules in place, how they all need to operate, and so everybody's not recreating the wheels, or, recreating the documents. And
It's supposed to be very supportive.
And for their
Yes.
protection,
Yep.
to make sure that,
It's
they
supposed to be
don't do
helpful,
something
not
that.
hurtful, and not, nobody's trying to make it more difficult, just trying to make sure everybody has what they need.
so, all right, any questions or further discussion on community engagement? Hearing none, then we'll move to policy. I think Mr. Vogelman gets to walk us through Norm's update.
Yes.
Just a little one.
Yeah.
Just a couple. On Friday, March 7th, the board policy team met with our Neola representative, Norm Burkhart, to cover 24 policies and 2 bylaws. And so those are up tonight for first read. And I kind of broken them down into a couple of different sections. First of all, the one bylaw that's on there, 0131, that is just allowing for technical corrections to happen without coming to the board. So for example, if there's a typo, we don't have to do a first and second read, we can fix it. Or if there's a name change, for example, our compliance officers are listed by name. If we were to change those names, we could just change the name to the correct person without having to do a first and second read. 2 policies are rescinded. 0171 is being rescinded because of the update to the technical corrections. It's no longer needed since it's covered in technical corrections, so that will be rescinded. A little further down, policy 5131 is being rescinded as well. This policy was provided dealing with components of House Bill 147, but those are being rolled into a different policy now as well. So policy 5131 is no longer needed. I'll talk about that in one of the revision areas. With some of the recent House bill movement toward the end of the calendar year and into the beginning of this year, we have 4 new policies that are on for first read. The first one is 142201. This is similar to existing policy language we have in the 3000s and 4000s that regards drug-free workplace. We just didn't have this in the administrator section, so we figured it would be good to have the same language for administrators that we do for our professional staff and our classified staff. So that is a new one. Another new policy, it's a new revised policy, I'll call it that way. That's policy 5223. This is release time for religious instruction. This policy reflects the provisions inside of the recent House Bill 8, which requires district to adopt a policy authorizing students to be excused from school to attend release time course in religious instruction. The bill requires school districts to collaborate with a sponsoring entity of a release time course in religious instruction to identify a time for the course to be offered during the school day. We've had discussion about this. This would have to be approached from an outside organization to us and would have to work within the schedule of our students' day. They would not be permitted to miss core time, for example, but it would be elective time, and we would have to still determine and work with those agencies, but that policy is there if someone were to approach about that. Policy 578001, new one, Parents' Bill of Rights. This also was off of House Bill 8, which requires public schools to adopt a policy that enacts the Parents' Bill of Rights to include parental notification on student health and well-being and instructional materials with sexually explicit, not sexually explicit, but sexually specific content. The district must establish a process under which the school must resolve written concerns submitted by the parents about topics addressed in this Parent Bill of Rights. The final new one that is before you is policy 7421, restrooms, locker rooms, shower rooms, and changing rooms. This policy reflects also revisions to the new Senate Bill 104, which require public schools and educational service centers to designate specific facilities for the exclusive use by either male biological sex or female biological sex. The district shall prohibit use by any student, employee, or any other person of a facility designated for use by the opposite biological sex unless one of the statutory exemptions applies. So those are the 4 new policies. The remaining policies are all revisions, and I'll try and hit those pretty quick because those are all existing, and then we can take time for questions at the end if there are any. Policy 2271, College Credit Plus. This just adds a new layer due to Senate Bill 104 in which kids can enroll at semester and not have to wait until the start of the next year. So by November they can enroll for a January starting CCP course if they weren't in it before. Provisions before didn't allow that. Now they are permitted to do that. Policy 2340, field and other district-sponsored trips. This goes back to Senate Bill 104. It's updated language with the biological requirements, and this policy was revised to include overnight accommodations restrictions that mandates that students of the opposite biological sex may not share overnight accommodations. Three that I'll kind of put together, and it kind of goes to the rescinded one I mentioned earlier. 243002, participation of community STEM school students in extracurricular activities. 2431, interscholastic athletics. And policy 8452, automated external defibrillators and cardiopulmonary resuscitation. These policies have all been revised to reflect requirements of House Bill 47 and House Bill 147, which require all schools to place an AED in each school and sports recreational area under its control. The act requires each school district and school to provide training, and each school and district must adopt an emergency action plan for the use of those AEDs. Additionally, the district must hold informational meetings regarding the symptoms and warning signs of sudden cardiac arrest for all ages of student or youth athletes before the start of each athletic season, and also includes updated athletic eligibility provisions. Policy 2460, special education. Ohio Department of Education Workforce recently released updated special education model policies. The operating standards require educational agencies to adopt written policies and procedures regarding the education of children with disabilities. To fulfill the requirements, school boards may either adopt the model policies or develop their own. This is where you will see a resolution coming your way before the deadline of May 30th, in which the board needs to adopt a resolution stating that we'll either use the state model policies or we will create our own. Policy 5113, interdistrict open enrollment, part of Senate Bill 208, now permits a student who is not a native student of the district but can open enroll into the district if the student's parent is an active duty member of the Armed Forces of the United States who is stationed here in Ohio. Policy 513601, electronic equipment. This was adopted earlier, but now has been revised once again due to Senate Bill 29 changes. That gives a little more flexibility to school districts after they implemented and then made some changes. Policy 5330, use of medications. It's been reviewed and modified to reflect changes of House Bill 70 and House Bill 206 to allow districts to authorize specific employees to store and administer over-the-counter drugs to students with parental permission, and also authorizes the storage and use of drugs to help treat seizures. Policy 5350, student health, well-being, and suicide prevention. Policy is revised to include comprehensive mental health and wellness initiatives that promote the emotional and physical safety of students and staff. Policy 5460, graduation requirements. Revised diploma seals have been added by the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce have been added. Policy 5610, removal, suspension, expulsion, and permanent exclusion of students. There's provisions of House Bill 206, which permit a school district to establish a policy that authorizes the superintendent to expel a student for not more than 180 school days for actions that pose imminent and severe endangerment to the health and safety of other students or school employees. Policy 5751, parental status of students. This policy revised to reflect the latest legislation and regulatory provisions put in forth by federal law to provide appropriate accommodation to protect pregnancy and parental rights of students. This is similar to what we saw the past couple times about nursing mothers and giving them provisions. It's the same rights should be extended to students if needed. Policy 6151, insufficient funds check. This policy language updates some of the language at the request of clients. Instead of written as bad checks, which was the title of it, now it's insufficient funds. Policy 6460, vendor relations. Once again, this is part of Senate Bill 29 updates, just a little better language to give school districts a little more flexibility than the original Senate Bill 29. Policy 744001, video surveillance and electronic monitoring. Policy is revised to add an option authorizing the use of smart sensor monitoring technology. As we know, technology is advancing all the time, and now they're permitting to have more ability with smart sensor monitoring technology coming out to be used. Policy 8142, criminal history record check for contracted school services employees. This policy was revised as part of House Bill 33, and individuals providing contracted school services that they must also enroll and wrap back as our own employees do. If it's a contracted service and they're working with our kids just like our own employees, they have to follow the same process and enroll in the wrap back through the state of Ohio. Excuse me. Policy 8500, food services. Policy has been revised from House Bill 8 to provide school lunch for students who may be participating in release time for religious instruction if it would happen during their lunchtime, and additional language and options regarding bad debt for dietary modifications that have been included at the request of clients due to recent audits. The last policy that I skipped over, saved to the end, is 5136, and this is personal communication devices that we've been working on for most of the school year. Getting input and feedback from community members, from parents, from students, and so we bring to you the first read of that policy, in which we also looked at other school districts and what they had already put in place. A lot of good conversations that some of our other board members can comment on. We are beginning to inform our secondary and elementary principals to get their feedback as they begin to look at it. Some questions that people have I see on there's no lunchtime. That we do not want students on their devices during lunchtime, because as the committee felt, they are allowed to check their phones during class change. So if there was something they needed, for example, practice is canceled, or I need you to pick up a sibling, that can be viewed in a 3 to 4 minute passing time instead of spending 25 to 30 minutes on it during a lunch bell. We also have provisions in there toward the end that we mentioned before that got changed, that school phones are available in the case that a student would need to call home with prior permission from an adult in the building to make contact if needed. And as always, parents can always call the office in emergency situations to get a hold of their child. So that's probably the biggest one that draws some of the most attention, as it's one we've been working on and a lot of time and energy spent. And so those are all the policies we got before us tonight. So any questions or clarifications needed or things to take back that you would like for us to do further consideration on?
Isaac, would you like to start?
Yeah, I don't know if I got the number right or not. 52, 53 is is it religion?
5223?
Or 50?
Yes.
Okay.
Religious instruction release?
Yeah. So how, can you put a little light on how that is going to be run? How is it going to, is it going to work?
It depends. It would depend on the organization and where they are holding those times. It cannot be done on school property. It would have to be off school property. So if it's close enough to where they could walk, yes, they could walk. But if it was a good distance, then that organization would have to provide transportation and pick them up and return them. There would have to be a parent release sign out that they would be permitted to go at that time. So it all depends on the location in which that religious instruction was being held.
Okay. My second question is on, I can't remember the number, the one that states, that indicates that bathrooms must be marked.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Does it mean until
7421?
7421? 7421.
Or 7421, okay. So, I know this is the first read, but is it after the second read that it's in place, or? Mm-hmm. Okay, so
yep.
We have to wait for the second read.
Yeah, and we'll have to do some work with our buildings on this, because, for example, if we're hosting a game here in our gymnasium, and we have locker rooms, and if they're designated as boys' locker rooms and girls' locker rooms, well, if it's a visiting boys' team, then by this rule, they're not allowed to go into that girls' locker room.
Okay.
That we would have to have signage that states that that is a visiting team's locker room.
Yeah, I think as we reviewed what came through from the legislature, that's our biggest area of concern,
Yeah.
is not the sharing of bathrooms, but how this, and how do we implement that when we're constrained by facilities, right? So we have 2 locker rooms. They're always been designed to be boys when boys are playing and girls when girls are playing. And so we want to make sure we're not running afoul when we say the girls' locker room is now for the visiting team, and because it's a boys' team. So we're working through that from a legal aspect to make sure that's the biggest area of concern when we looked at implementation.
And as it says,
from Florida today.
as we talk about, there are statutory exceptions, and we need to research those with our legal, find out, does that mean that we can put up another sign, or we have to have 4 locker rooms now?
Thank you. That's all.
Mr. Horton?
No questions, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Mrs. French?
I also don't have any questions. Doug and I sat through the meeting. So this is like a second read for us.
I will provide this comment. Like, there's a lot in here, right?
Right.
I think most of this was expected. I think most of these revisions or changes don't affect how we currently do business. I think it's just making sure that we're compliant and up to date with the changes made from the legislature. I think that's one. The one we just talked about was one where we have some area of concern that we're wanting to make sure we get answers to. We don't think it's a barrier, but we want to make sure that we stay in compliance on. And then the second was around the when it comes to religious release instructions. There was a discussion amongst the committee as far as House Bill 8 does allow us to potentially require background checks. But the discussion from the committee was that we didn't think that was a place that we should go. It's more of once an organization approaches us and takes responsibility for the students, it's on them and the parents. But that is something that is allowed by the law. So that's something that, you know, could be considered for other members. But other than that, there really wasn't a change of course of how none of these really changed the course of what we're doing.
I think the cell phone policy, our community will be really happy with when they read it. We really spent a lot of time taking into account the survey data, the conversations that happened in the community conversations. And I think it's a really comprehensive plan that will really allow for instructional time to be, you know, purposeful and meant for instructional time, but also the students have the ability to access their phones if there is some sort of safety need, or if a parent needed to get a hold of them for some reason and couldn't go through the office. So I'm pretty proud of the cell phone policy after looking at lots of plans out there, and I think our community will be too.
Yeah, I kudos to the board for the time and energy that was put into it and a lot of thought. This wasn't done in 5 minutes. This was a lot of different scenarios that were thrown at you, a lot of different conversation, a lot of one-off what-ifs. And I believe you captured a lot of those that could be captured. And the good thing is by getting first read now and then approval next month is we'll have a month of school left to start kind of priming the pump with those kids coming back to say, now you understand, next year at this time, when we start school year, here's the new expectation, and we can start putting that into our communications at the end of the year, all the way through the summer as we head into August of next school year to help people understand the expectation. It is different. And also work with our buildings that would, things we talked about is like high school, we don't say that the kids can't have them on their person. And so if they are on their person, where can we give them an opportunity to put that in the classroom so they're not distracted by it? So working with our buildings about, and a good number of buildings already have the sleeves, numbered sleeves to put phones in to keep those away so they're not tempted by it. And there are times where we have provision where it says if the teacher says it's okay to use those at times, well, then they have them there. And also letting our staff know it's not a matter of, hey, is that a cell phone I see over there? That's not what we want to do. If it's out during the instructional time, that's one thing. If they're looking on it, walking down the hallway during bell change, that's fine. And just getting everybody to kind of understand that's how we're going to ebb and flow moving forward. We will have that time between now and the start of next school year to kind of get that ball rolling a little bit, help everybody kind of understand and maybe iron out some of the bugs or some of those questions that we haven't addressed yet.
So I have a couple questions on that. Are we just letting it up to buildings to decide what kind of mechanism or pouch, or are we going to do we're going to do a district-wide?
We're going to look at a district-wide piece. I've already spoken to Mr. Passarge. We already have, as Rob said, a number of places that already have those pockets in place. So we will continue to supplement those across to make sure that we have any classroom outfitted that needs those.
I will say in my day job, I go into high schools and teach mental health first aid, and there are several schools that do that. The kids walk in, they put it in the pocket, they go to their seats. In the case of what I'm doing, I'm in a lab that's 2.5 hours in a career tech, and so they put them in there, and there is one part of my presentation or my teaching that requires them to take a survey. And so they get up from their seat, they get the phone, they scan the QR code, they take the survey, and they are very good. They go back and put it back in. So it's just a repetitive, expectation. When we after the second read and we start communicating with parents, Are we going to communicate at all the state budget policy that could happen, or are we just going to wait and see if it happens?
I think we will wait and see on that,
Okay.
keeping a close eye on that if they were to change their mind about their direction around this policy.
Okay.
They anticipate that we'll have an answer to that about the time that we would really start a heavy push of
So we could
communication
know
on this,
before.
so that
Okay.
hopefully we can know before and not have conflicting messages or have to pivot in that message.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
And just to kind of elaborate a little bit, because I'm sure some people aren't aware, the budget bill often has a lot of policy in it. There was a recent call done by our professional organization, Ohio School Board Association, and of the hour-long call, 45 minutes of it was the policy provisions in the budget bill versus the financial provisions in the budget bill. And one of those was that even though they last year directed that each school was to develop their own cell phone policy, again, we've spoken about how intentional we've been in that process, they're now proposing simply no cell phones.
At all.
And so, again, it's just always interesting to me how much policy is included in the budget bill, and that is one. So that's why we need to just be aware that while this may be our desire, that may no longer be our choice in the end. Hopefully it will be, we don't know yet. I just had a quick question, and this is more beyond the policy of the policy 5460, the seals on the diplomas that are being added. Will we work with our staff and our students of, I mean, it's kind of, yeah, so we'll just figure out how students are communicated of what they need to do.
Absolutely.
And okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing. It's
Yeah.
another option, another avenue for students.
Great. Any additional questions or concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Fogelman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I apologize. I feel like tonight I keep getting my tongue tied. Okay, we have board professional development.
Did you skip finance?
I did skip finance.
Okay.
I didn't want to make an update there with.
It's been so long since
Maybe,
you had one.
maybe you want me to talk a little
Doug
bit more.
Yeah. Doug and I were at finance, and Mr. Zink, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, we had our first finance meeting, finally. We did approve minutes from November 14th, so that's how long it had been since we had met. Welcome Doug to the group. It was his first meeting. And we talked about kind of planning for the year, gave a overview, talked about treasure goals. And we also have on the agenda tonight a updated resolution for an enterprise zone agreement that we had approved back in 2020 that needs an update. So we kind of took a little deeper dive into reviewing some of those things and the planning. So it was kind of a relaxed first meeting, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think we also set through like the cadence of the meetings and what we'd be focusing on. And one of the things that we took into account was, and this is kind of crossing streams a little bit with other committees, but when you look at the facilities work that we're doing in the facilities committee, one of the things that came out of that was we should be actually looking at our enrollment number projections and updating that consistently. And so we talked about working that in within the finance committee as we look at the 5-year forecast to also use that as an opportunity to update our forecast on enrollment, since those are inherently tied together, as a means to make sure that we're facilitating that and then sharing that back with the facilities committee.
All right. Any further discussion on that or questions? All right, so do we want to go back to facilities committee since I skipped that as well? Or since we talked about that in community engagement, do we feel like we're covered?
I think the only thing is, as Doug just mentioned, we had the enrollment update last time, and so tomorrow, coupling those enrollment studies with Paul Fallon's statistically representative survey about where our community is just in terms of master facilities, I think will give us the traction we need along with that engagement plan to really get some really steady momentum around that, because we're going to have some big decisions to make about sites and also just propensity of where we are to go forward.
And we did have a public notice that went out today that was a bit of a false start. I did send a correction out shortly thereafter. The facility meeting that we have on Wednesday is for full board. It's not subcommittee, so sorry about that.
Yeah, I think I have something on facility as well. In our last meeting, I mentioned that some people in the community want to see the projection we had 10 years back. And all that we did in the past 10 years projecting to where we are in enrollment, and then now use that as stepping stone for our next 10 years. So I still want you to work on that because I need to get back to those community members.
I believe our past, at least last I looked, our past enrollment studies are all available
10.
on the, on our website.
Yeah.
I don't think that's changed. And they were the foundation for the future. I mean, as they told us in the last meeting when we went over the enrollment study, they do use those that trend data as well as other pieces to inform their future enrollment study. So that was used as a baseline. So I think that's already out there, but I mean, we can certainly help find that link for folks. Okay. I apologize. I usually check myself off, so I just was jumping all around today. Board professional development, is there anything that anyone would like to share now?
Finally,
I know,
here so fast.
right?
I think tomorrow we're going to the state legislative conference in Columbus.
And then
Isaac
this weekend I'll be in Atlanta for CASPA conference.
And did you had a spring conference?
Yeah, I wanted to finish that first. Yeah, we had a spring conference and it went well. One major thing that I can report on that is I don't know if any of our students applied for the scholarship, but one of the students from, I can't remember the school district, won the scholarship and yeah, it was awarded. And I want to encourage that next time our students should apply, because about 60-something students applied, and I didn't hear any of our students, any application from Lakota. Okay. So it's necessary that we participate as well.
So that conference that Isaac is speaking of is the Southwest Region Ohio School Board Association Conference, just to clarify. All right, and I know tomorrow we all wanted to do multiple things and we had to split up in order to cover everything. So some of us are going to a legislative conference, others are going to the national.
Sure we're awake.
The naturalization ceremony that East does, which is always lovely to be able to participate, and they turn our gymnasium into a courtroom temporarily to welcome our new citizens. So it's a very powerful event, and we're sorry that we all can't be at both events. So
starts at 9 a.m.
10:30.
10:30.
10:30. Mm-hmm.
So, all right. With that, we have the community and committee dates on our calendar and are on the tab under F. So if anyone would like to see those, they may always go to Board Docs and see any upcoming dates, because again, we have had a lot of moving parts on all of that. And with that, we'll go to the administrative report of the first read of the calendar.
And he's back.
So the community is aware, as part of House Bill 59, there's a requirement for the Board of Education to have a first read of the school calendar and then make it available to the public for comment for 30 days. And once those 30 days have expired, the Board of Education can vote to approve the calendar. This work began last month on Wednesday, February 5th at our district parent council. Just a reminder that we are talking about the 2026-2027 calendar. Lakota is about 16 months ahead. So if you're thinking this is a 25-26, that was completed last year at this time and has been available online since June of 24. But the work was done by our district parent council representatives. We had them split into groups to ensure there were representation from all 4 grade bands of ECS, elementary, junior high, and high school. The purpose of the cross-representation was to have discussions with the lens that each level views the calendar. Each group was given a packet to guide their discussions, and inside the packet was calendar considerations, current school hours, blank calendar, table report, and copies of the last 3 approved school calendars so they would have an idea of the dates that we were using. We took all that information from all those tables, and the majority of the calendar selections made up this draft calendar before you. Some key considerations, so everyone is aware. We are required by House Bill 59 that all of our kindergarten through 6th grade students have to have 910 hours. Our 7 through 12 have to have 1,001. Some other things we take in mind, our LEA and LSSA contract calls for current teachers to work 184 days. Part of that contract is also that we have those 3 PD days at the start of each year, and at the end of each quarter we have a PD day as well. We strive for about 172 to 173 student days for our kiddos. We also have conference nights that count as work days for our teachers, and because of those 4 nights per year, there are 2 conference exchange days in which, ever since I've been here, since 1997, has been on Thanksgiving and President's Day. That's why you see those days there. We also have to take into account holidays. We also take into account strife for balance between semesters. Don't have one semester to have 78 days and the other semester to have 100. That does not work well for our teachers who teach semester-length courses. We also look to strive to get the balance of number of days in each quarter as well as those semesters. We know that there are a lot of state assessments that take place, heaviest in the springtime. We also account for election days, and we have PD days on those election days due to safety security reasons for opening our buildings to the community. One thing that our high school parents, former high school parent here speaking, we try to end that first semester at winter break. So we have that true break for all students. Another thing that we typically do is we look at Good Friday. Good Friday is a religious holiday and staff are permitted to take off for that. We know that we would have a concern if the number of staff members and aides that would take off, that we would not have enough coverage. So we look to incorporate that Good Friday as a day off, which is on March 26, 2027. So with all those factors and the input, that's what led us to the 26-27 calendar that is in front of you for first read. The one thing I will point to is, if you notice, the September 8th day is a professional development day we've added. I've mentioned this before in previous meetings that we talk about safety and security, and with all the things that we are required to do that have been added, finding the time to do that. And we talk about our number 1 priority is keeping our students safe. It's tough to do that when you're trying to fit in all the curriculum documents and getting ready for school and open houses. And so we felt it would be wise on our part to take one day and to focus all things safety security for all staff, to report and go through our ALICE training, go through our tabletop exercises, go through reminders of what we do in a reunification drill, of all those things that we value and we do, instead of trying to Velcro it on to the end of professional development activities, to say this is a day that we're going to focus on safety and security procedures and how that works out in every single building. And so we've added that day, and one thing we would like to do is to amend next year's school calendar as well to include the same day, the day after Labor Day, as a PD day for staff and students for staff to report, students to stay home, and we'll spend that whole day once again covering all the safety security initiatives that we feel we need to review at the start of every school year to be prepared.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Vogelman?
The only thing I'll mention is I think it's a typo, but on the left-hand side, you have May 21st listed as the early release for students last day in the 4th quarter, but on the actual layout of the days, it looks like it's May 20th.
Gotcha.
So I didn't count the days, so I don't know which one's the typo, but.
No, appreciate that. That's exactly right. The last day should be the 20th, the 21st should be the teacher in service. And I know where that typo was because we had talked about a fall break. And when we first had the report in, the first request was to have a fall break for the 16th and the 19th in October. And that would have put us over a number of work days. So we had to reduce a day, and so we pushed everything back.
Okay.
Kind of piggyback on that, we pride ourselves in looking at data to make decisions. So our teaching and learning group, our academic team, have certainly just been looking at data, kind of our trend data around attendance the last couple of years, and there are definitely some, I'm going to use the word that our academic team needs, some heat maps that show up when you look at attendance, right? Some days that just, you can see the dip, right? So we're just trying to continue to look at that and see what that means for our calendar planning. Maybe that's November 1st, the day after Halloween, or like you mentioned, days that fall around Thanksgiving, and just kind of continuing to look at those heat maps of where we see those declines in attendance or those heavy uprising or ticks of attendance and absences. We don't have next steps around that, but we're just starting to look at that to make sure that we can make some informed decisions in the calendar discussions in the future.
Great. Any other feedback or questions from Mr. Vogelman? I know this is always a very robust discussion in district parent council, but I think that's a great way to do it. And then with all the input from staff, I think we get a lot fewer comments of dissatisfaction after you started that process. So thank you for all the work and making sure this is robust going in.
So sometime tomorrow or Wednesday, this will go up on our website for 30 days. And then we just have to do the math, see if the next regular board meeting is 30 days out, and we'll bring it back to you for final approval.
Perfect. All right. We'll go to treasurer's recommendations. We have 7A, approval of board minutes, 7B, approval of monthly financial reports, and 7C, the enterprise zone compensation agreement with Queen City Harley-Davidson. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on these items?
Yeah, I have a question.
All right.
Enterprise zone compensation agreement with Harley-Davidson?
What that was, it was originally approved back in 2020 as an abatement, but due to it being a retail facility, there has to be a little bit additional language supplied. So the township reached out, Westchester Township reached out, gave us the updated language, and asked that we reapprove that because it was actually denied by the state so that they could resubmit. So this is just the reapproval of one that we had approved several years back, although now, at the time when they had approved that, the facility wasn't up and operational yet, but due to from 2020 all the way to now 2025 when the denial happened, that's kind of, it's been a long process, so they were asking for us to put that back through for them.
So we're incentivizing something that's already happened, so it is
Okay,
tempting
so
to sort of say.
It definitely is an odd scenario, yes.
But since we did it before, we feel like it's good faith for us to continue and bring it forward together.
Yeah, you're not looking at that in a weird way. It is an odd process right now.
And I think it's a good example of how we continually support our business community and helping the community grow by making these arrangements. So.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Zink, please call the roll.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Mr. Horton?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes. Moving to superintendent's recommendations, A through F, we have personnel items, the 25-26 amended calendar, field trips, approving a revised assessment for water main and in a word I'm not going to pronounce properly, so I'm going to skip it. E is an MOU between the board and Westchester Police Department for emergency situation access, and F is approval of donations. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. First, I would like to draw your attention to page 3 of the personnel file. Mr. Matt McFarland is on the board agenda tonight to be approved as the next principal of Lakota East High School. That will be the 6th principal of Lakota East High School in the 28 years. I said this to him, and I will say this just for the community as well. As a secondary teacher, it doesn't often happen, but it happened the other day that not only were they excited, he got a standing ovation from his staff about this recommendation, and they had nothing but glowing things in support to say with him. You know, we did post the position, we did interview for this. And he was absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, the standing candidate in that. And so we are very, very excited for the interim name to come off and for him to be the long-term principal of Lakota East High School. So again, congratulations. Now, less exciting, the 25-26 amended school calendar. As Mr. Vogelman said, you will just see on this amendment, this one is already on our website, but we are changing that September 2nd day to a PD day to align with those safety needs. Again, we feel like that needs to be at the start of the year, probably not the first 3 days of school. Safety on the first 3 days of school is a little bit of a Debbie Downer and a little bit of a hard lift, but we still think it needs to be close to the beginning of the year. So that is that calendar change, that September 2nd will become a PD day and not a student day. So that is the only change on that. You might remember on D, you have actually already seen this before, but we are needing to reapprove that because the prosecutor made some changes before the commissioner approved it. The corrections were changing language from a sewer to a water main and some additional administrative changes, nothing substantial, but I didn't want you to think you were having deja vu, that you've already seen that. And then last but not least is the MOU that we talked about with our police departments earlier in the year to gain access to our camera system in the state in the event of an emergency. Those would only be during the event of an emergency, not kind of a common practice. And so we will start that collaboration with our police department if it were ever needed in an unfortunate situation.
Great. Any other questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, please call the roll.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. Horton?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes. And with that, we move to closing comments. So again, I'll start with Mr. Adi.
Oh, mine is okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to start off with, first of all, thanking my fellow board members for the way we conducted ourselves in our last meeting, especially when it was a hot issue. We were respectful, and each and every one of us were passionate about the issue, and we respectfully share what our thoughts are, and nobody is cussing anybody out. We're professional, and because it was really a hot issue, really a hot issue, which in my previous experience would have created some of the unnecessary, words that we don't need in a professional setting like this. So, thank you. But I will also put some things in perspective, because on a hindsight, I know the superintendent mentioned a lot, several times, about should we marinate, maybe get more information. But at the end, we voted, and it was 3-2, it passed. But I voted no, and I want to put some things on record. I voted no because, for me, from what I saw, and also I want to thank everybody, because we made a request that we want to hear from our legislators, and we all approved it, and we invited them. Within short notice, they all called in and shared their perspective. So that was a good thing, and I also want to say that we need to do more often of that, especially when we have hard issues that will require or has been legislated. We need to engage them a little bit more. But I have some few things that I want to put on record. I wrote them down. So permit me, let me try to read them. So first of all, it is already a law. The voucher issue was already a law as at the time we were talking about it. And it is a pilot program, which I believe there will be reauthorization every year, every school year. It is already effective this school year, as at the time we were discussing it. And it affects schools. My own finding, I did some research after that as well. It affects only schools with either a failing grade of F or less than 2-star rating on the annual report card from Ohio Department of Education for 2 of the last 3 years. None of our schools, that's my belief, none of our schools have ever had such a low rating. In Butler County, it only affects, I think, 3 Hamilton City schools and 9 Middletown City schools. Students who qualify still live in one of the affected schools and have family income of 450% to 750% of the federal poverty level. For 2025, that should be $25,650 to receive any portion of the scholarship money from the state of Ohio. It only affects school buildings ranked in the bottom 20% of all buildings operated. Lakota school buildings are in the top 20% of the school buildings in Ohio. Have you found any large school district that had joined, as at the time we joined? It appears that it is overfunded from year to year. It was brought to the board by the Lakota Education Association to help fund it on a basis of 50-50 basis. I don't know if we mentioned that during our discussion.
We did.
But some people felt they didn't hear that.
We did.
Yeah, they didn't hear that. Okay. The union collects dues to support the LEA issues. The board is spending taxpayers' money to support LEA to bring a suit against a 2-year-old Ohio law that is supported by 68% of the public. I know I mentioned that during our discussion as well. It does not now and will ever affect our students because we ranked in the top 20% of the schools in Ohio. Finally, instead of trying to sue against a law that most people are for, we should be focusing on using Lakota payers' money to improve the education of our students. And as I was having a conversation with one of the people that is passionate about this issue, what he said is, educate, yes. Litigate, no. And I want to borrow from that slogan. What we should stand for is educate, yes. Litigate, no. Another point I also want to put on is we are about to put a levy on the ballot, asking citizens to pay millions of dollars for future fiscal improvements. Again, even though I know this amount might not be much, we are better off now that, again, why are we wasting money on legal action that does not even affect Lakota? Are we better off now that we voted and passed it? Only time will tell as the community visits Facebook, YouTube, and watches on local news what we have brought to their table. In conclusions, it appears to me that Lakota will not be impacted because of our scorecard rating, and wealth in our district excludes us from our state law. We should have taken time to marinate, like our superintendent said. Instead, we voted to pass it. From what I've been hearing from the community, they believe we should educate and not litigate. The voters will make their voices known when it comes November. I believe that we have to do a lot more to persuade the community to come along with us. Thank you.
Mr. Horton?
So I want to also really thank our legislators. I know I was the one who kind of suggested when we were talking about this issue to see if they'd be willing to spend some time and talk and share their perspectives, knowing it was very short turnaround, and for all three of them to make the time in a very busy session reassured me of the partnership that we have with our legislators. I appreciate them sharing their perspectives. I know their answers helped me formulate my decision on how to vote, but I think as we all work together, it's important for us to have those discussions. So I really appreciate them taking the time to do that. I will just say, in response to Mr. Adi's statement, I don't know of any plans for us to put a levy on the ballot. I haven't been privy to any conversations in any of our committees on that. So I just want to state that I don't see that happening, or there's no plans for that. Turning to where I want to focus in on, so much, and I do want to reserve, knowing that Kelly always tends to come after me and I steal her thunder. I'm not going to comment on some of the sports stuff.
No, go ahead, steal my thunder.
No, because this past week especially really was a tremendous showcase for the arts in Lakota. And I think we talk about STEM a lot, we talk about our athletics. To see at Light Up Lakota, the sneak peeks, they weren't even full performances of Beetlejuice Jr. and Hades Town and the plays that are coming. To see the music company, the vocal choir sing the way that they do, was phenomenal. And then you couple that with everything that's going on with the Fitton Center. That display in Liberty Center is one of the coolest things I've seen. The chance for our students, 300, I believe it is, students of ours, to have their art on display, not just for a night, but for a good month-long period of time in such a public arena. Normally you have to come to one of our arenas, our gyms on a Friday night to see what our sports teams do. Here's a chance when you're just going shopping to see the amazing art that is capable by our students. But I also want to give a shout out to our teachers and staff. We have an amazing arts program here, and so much of it is driven by the teachers that are doing that work. And so it is really neat to see that showcase, and it's been a great week to just revel in the greatness, the great arts programs that we have in Lakota. Thank you.
Mrs. French?
Quite a few of those things I was going to say. Also, has been a really exciting week with even Pie Night was something that we haven't talked a whole lot about yet. Pie Night was a ton of fun. Seeing the wonder of science in kids' eyes and the excitement as they're participating in the experiments and creating and learning is really incredible. So I really enjoyed Pie Night along with the other activities. I also want to encourage our community to get out to Liberty Center and see the artwork on display. It is phenomenal. Every time I see any kind of art display from our students, I am just in awe of their ability. It's beautiful. So I encourage you all to get out and check that out. I also want to say congratulations to Mr. McFarland. We're excited to have you as the next principal of Lakota East High School. I think you're going to do a phenomenal job, and as Dr. Whiteley said, to have a standing ovation by your staff is pretty incredible. So I'm excited to see the work that you'll do here at Lakota East, and congratulations.
All right, we'll start with Dr. Whiteley and go this way.
Just to reiterate, the student art work that is on display is absolutely wonderful, but I would be remiss if I did not thank the countless people involved with our teachers and our curriculum team, specifically Lori Brown, Emily Herman, Andrew Wheatley, Laura House. I mean, the list goes on and on. When I say they really framed up that event, no pun intended, they spent countless hours. And the first thing that the director of the Fitton Center said to me was, "You have a fabulous team at Lakota Local Schools." We had teachers there at 5 a.m. all throughout the day setting up, and it really took a village, and that collaboration that our kids talked about to really showcase and give back to your community, really, I saw that through our academic team and their support and from our students and our teachers. And so I think it's just one of the beautiful things that makes us a we.
Yeah.
Mr. Zink?
Again, I'll echo thanks to Senator Lang, Representatives Hall and Gross. I will say that information that was shared, I've attached into that agenda item. Senator Lang shared information the very next morning. I have sent out another email. I still am missing the survey information that Representative Gross said she was going to share with us, as well as a web link. That way we could put that in, and also you can find their email addresses there. They asked that we would share that, so those are also in that agenda item. Trying to be a little helpful. Did have a nice meeting with the President's Council. That was at the Boys and Girls Club. It's always a fun time. They kind of put me off toward the end. I had to skip in line. I had to leave, but very candid conversation. It was very nice. And we actually, when I seen the donations again, those are always on there, we'd actually discussed maybe figuring out a way if people could track their donation of time so that there's nothing we can do with it besides show it and show some appreciation for all the time. I know I'd mentioned that last year, it seemed like it was in June, when you look at how many donations we receive over a year, and it wouldn't have anything in comparison to the time that people donate for our district. So it's very appreciated for everything that they do. And also to congratulate Mr. McFarland on being the next principal at Lakota East. I look forward to being able to support his work from the treasurer side of the operation. So congratulations.
Mrs. Casper?
Okay, I think this microphone is working. I didn't know that mine was the one that was the trouble child. Nobody should be surprised by that. I also want to take a minute to thank the legislators for their time. It was a robust discussion, and again, they took time out of their day to zoom in. But there were some things said during that conversation that I kind of want to clear up. One of them is that we have fleeting enrollment, and we are down about 400 students, Dr. Whiteley, correct? But what people don't realize is nobody's fleeing. It's because we have redone our open enrollment policy due to space. We just didn't have the space to keep people who did not live in our district in the buildings. So it's not really that anybody is fleeing because we're doing a bad job. You know, we heard some things like you're teaching things that people don't want to talk about or families don't want to listen. I think someone mentioned social justice. But I did some research after that meeting, and I have friends whose kids are in private schools, and so I said to them, do you talk about social issues and teach the kids about social issues and help them become critical thinkers? And they said, absolutely. They have SEL in the private schools. They have critical thinking where they talk about issues that are happening in the country and how people can talk about them without having heated, yelling debates. So some of the things that people are afraid we are doing, and that's why they don't want to come to our schools, even though we do know they do want to come, is that the same things are happening in the private schools. So I just kind of wanted to clear that up for our community. And while, Mr. Adi, while none of our schools are performing at that 2-star level, we did have 2,400 vouchers used out of our district last year with the expansion. So even though they're not the poor performing schools, they're still taking vouchers from in our district. Just want to clarify that. I get to talk about sports because Doug left it for me. The basketball game yesterday, we've all talked about what a heartbreaking loss at the buzzer with 1 second left. They lost by 1 point. But what impressed me more than that was the class of our students, the class of our team, the class of our student section. They were respectful, they were gracious, they were very disappointed, of course, but they held their heads high, and I think I was more proud of that than their play. So that's kudos to our coaching staffs and our administration that those students had more class than I have seen in some sporting events. Liberty Center, really quickly, I know everybody has said what a wonderful event it was, and it was really nice. I had a little girl come up to me, we were in the high school part, and the mom said, "Is this all there is?" Because she has a piece of art. And I said, "No, what grade are you in?" She was in 5th. I directed her to there. And by the time I got down to where she was, I saw her and I said, "Did you find your piece?" And huge smile on her face. And she pointed to it. She goes, "That's my piece right there." And she saw me taking pictures. She said, "Do you want to take a picture of it?" So of course I did. I said, "Yes, I would love to take a picture." But just the pride that they're seeing by having it displayed. And the one thing that about Liberty Center, as one of our partners that I found fascinating, they built walls to display our art with like museum lights on it. They bought all of the stands that the high school and junior high art is in. They really invested. This really truly was a partnership between Lakota, the Fitness Center, and Liberty Center. So yes, echo everybody's, when you get a chance, go out there and see those because it is amazing. I am a person who could just still draw stick people. So even the kindergarten art was better than what I could do. So I was very impressed. And lastly but not leastly, I want to add my congratulations to Mr. McFarland. We're very, very excited, and we can't wait to see the great things that you will be doing at Lakota East. That's it.
All right.
Did we give you anything, Mrs.
Yeah. So many of these events, as have already been mentioned, just exemplify the partnership that we have between our community and our schools, and we all succeed better when we work together. So I'm just want to be thankful for that, from our parent support organizations to different community organizations. We are grateful. Just to clarify a couple pieces, Kelly mentioned that we do have 2,400 people taking advantage of the vouchers, and the 450% of the poverty level is actually for a family of 4, $144,000 of income, and 95% of our voucher recipients are making over that amount. So just want to clarify that again, I think we've all said, as we had 2.5 hours of debate on this issue, nobody is against school choice, but it's just a difference of opinion when that school choice goes to a private school voucher student getting $8,400 from the state at the same time Lakota is getting $3,800 from the state. is when we question that. And again, the intent as advertised originally was for failing schools. And when we have a 4.5-star district that is still having folks use that many vouchers, it impacts the opportunities we're able to have for our own students. And that's what it's about. It's we're trying to protect the opportunities for the 90% of students who are choosing public school. So, and our vote was to join the Ohio Coalition for Equity and Adequacy of School Funding. So they then proceed with that, and they have chosen to file a lawsuit to question the constitutionality of our school funding system. So that will be interesting to see what ultimately happens. And then finally, again, to Mr. McFarland, it is a huge lift in today's world to be a high school principal. So not only are we thrilled that your staff gave you tremendous support, we're also thrilled to know that the students and the families also have that same support. And that is such a delicate balance in today's world, to be able to get the support of all those people. And we are so thankful that you are standing up for all these kids, one of whom is your own, so you see it firsthand, and all that we know that that requires of you on a day in and day basis, and what you give up as a family. So forever grateful, and we know that you will do wonderful things to continue the legacy that is Lakota East and is Lakota, and can't wait to see what that looks like. So look forward to seeing your fingerprint on the future of Lakota. Thank you. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
You're too close, too slow.
Too far.
Hearing none. Mr. Zink, please call the roll.
Mr. Horton?
Yes.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
When do you leave?